Hey guys, this is Mrs. Harbin, and I am back with another computer basics video. I received some feedback after my previous video that this might be a good series to continue to work on some of those computer basics that you may not be familiar with. I've noticed, especially with my high school students, that a lot of them have not used computers really for anything other than playing games, not even for typing papers. A lot of them are creating documents and PowerPoints solely on their phones or iPads. But going into the workforce, you are going to need to know how to use a computer. And so what better time to master those basics than when we are doing distance learning? In my previous video, I showed you how to organize and save files. Today, we're going to look at how to move saved files in case you need to move them. So let's go back to our kitchen metaphor, if you will. Yesterday, or in the previous video, we talked about the fact that in your kitchen you have a space for silverware, a space for plates, a space for cups, etc. And you guys know where everything in your kitchen goes, and when you put things away, you put them back in the appropriate spaces so that they're easy to find again. Organizing your computer files should be kind of like a kitchen. You're going to maybe have multiple drives where you save things, and in those drives you're going to have multiple folders. We created a folder for Bob yesterday, and since this was Bob's school folder, we made an English file, a math file, a science file, etc. You can save things onto your computer's hard drive itself, or because you have school accounts, you can actually save it into the cloud on the school's account in the cloud. But what happens if you put something in the wrong place? What do you do? So we are going to take a look at an assignment that Bob has saved in the wrong place and talk about how he can move that file. And I'm going to show you 3 different methods to do that. The first method is the save as and delete method. This is where you save it into the place where you want it to go, and then you delete the one that you don't want. Now, I don't recommend this because you might delete the wrong one, but I'm going to show you what that looks like and why I don't recommend it. So let's go to Bob's folder here, and Bob typed a paper for science fair, and when he went into this science folder, it wasn't there. So instead of panicking, Bob went over here to search his folder because he knew he typed it somewhere. He knew that he typed a paper with science somewhere in the title because Bob knew to name his papers here right from the beginning. Hopefully it will do a search for me. There we go. So here is his paper, and we can see right here the file path tells us where it's been saved. And it's been saved, if you look at the end, it's in the desktop in Bob's folder, but in his English folder. So Bob's going to open that, and not knowing any better, he's going to go to Save a Copy, and he's going to change English. He's going to hit this up button to go back to Bob's folder and choose Science instead. So he's now saved that to his Science folder, and he thinks that all is well. But what Bob actually did there, exit this search, was not move the file at all. What Bob actually did was actually make a copy of the file. And so now if we go into his English file, you can see the science fair paper is still there. And in his science file, the science fair paper is there as well. So he just really made a copy. So the first method that I mentioned here was the save and delete method. You save the paper where you really want it to be and then delete the one that you don't want. But this is not recommended because you might delete the wrong one. So this is, if you can't remember any of the other methods and you need to move it, you can try this one. It's not recommended though, but I do see a lot of students who do that. And then what happens is they send me the wrong one. And they go, oh no, I sent you the wrong one and I deleted the other one. So I don't recommend going to Save As and making a new folder because it doesn't move it. It just copies it. And I don't want you to lose track of which one is the copy that you're working in. So I don't recommend that method. Here are 2 methods that, instead of making a copy of the file, actually do move the file. So this method, the second one on our list here, is the drag, hold, and repeat. And we do that until the file is where we want it to go. And here's what that looks like. So we will open up Bob's folder again here. And let's say he wants to get it off of his computer. This is on my desktop right now. And move it to the cloud. You can see on the left, I've got my school cloud account, OneDrive, Mountain View Christian Academy. I also have my personal cloud account. But he wants to move it to his school cloud account. Oh, let's go back to Bob's folder here. So what he can do is click on that paper and holding down on his mouse button, drag it to where he wants it to go. So he wants to go here, and he's going to hold until all the files open. Okay. I'm still holding that left mouse key. I have not let go. And then he knows this is for distance learning. So we're going to go down to distance learning and hold. More files open up. And then go down to student work. That's where he wants it. And so he'll drop it into student work. Oh, I've got the document open. I can't move it while it's open. So let's try that again. Closing the document and try again. And now if we look in student work, there is Bob Smith Science Fair paper. And if we go back to his science folder, we'll see that it's not there anymore. So the file has been effectively moved from one location to another. So that is one method that works. I don't typically do that one personally because I don't like to drag and hold and drag and hold. As you saw, I have multiple files, and sometimes that process can be lengthy as I'm dragging and holding and waiting and dragging and holding and waiting. So I don't typically do that method. The method that I prefer is the side-by-side method. And so let's look at the steps here, and then I'll show you what that looks like. We're going to open the folder with the file's current location. We'll then open a new folder using these buttons, Control-N, so that our two folders are side by side. We'll then navigate the new folder to where I want the file to go, and then drag and drop. So let me explain that here and demonstrate that for you. So we're going to open a folder here and go to the file's location. So currently Bob's Science Fair paper is here in student work. I'm then going to open a new window and new folder here by hitting Control-N, and I'll put them side by side. This one, I guess I'll put one on top of the other. Here we go. So side by side. Right, on the left, I have where my paper currently is, and on the right, I'm going to go to where I want the paper to be moved to. So maybe I want to move it back to Bob's Science folder. So I'm going to go to Bob's Science folder. You can see the file path here that tells where I am. This PC, desktop, Bob's folder, Science folder. So this tells where I am. This tells where the file is. Distance learning, student work. We can see the whole file path here if we click on that. OneDrive, Mountain View Christian Academy, and then distance learning and student work. All right, so now that I have my folders side by side, I'm going to grab the assignment that I want, the file that I want, and I'm going to move it over here, and you'll see it says move to science. I let go, and you can see it moved boop, doop, one to the other. This is a really great way for me because I can see it physically moving. I can see that it has left one folder and has gone to the other. This is also an effective way to move a bunch of different files as well. It's just a very quick way to move things from one folder to the other. So those are the 3 different ways that you can move a file that you need to move or you've accidentally saved somewhere else. Again, I don't recommend the first one. I just showed you that way because that is what a lot of students tend to do when they don't know any better. The drag, drop, or drag, hold, and repeat is one way to move a file, or the side-by-side method is my preferred way for moving a file or a bunch of files from one location to another. This is what I tend to do when I'm cleaning up my files or organizing or reorganizing files. I'll have my windows open and move things around. That way I can see where it was coming from and where it's going to. Very quickly I can tell when something's been moved the way I need it to be moved. If you guys have any questions about this, make sure you reach out to me and I will be happy to answer them for you.